And welcome to the G&G podcast. My name is Gabe.
And I am Gato.
Yes. This is episode, 12 now? 13?
According to you, it's 12. No, according to you, it's 13.
Yes,
There's
13.
a couple of missing episodes that you unfortunately will never hear, and that's okay.
They're hidden somewhere, I
I'm
think.
just,
In some hidden
just kidding.
hard drive. Patreon users will get it.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead and click the join button. It gives your money. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have a Patreon or anything like that yet. Not yet. But
I like
maybe in the future.
positivity.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing okay. I mean, dude, I was looking at our Spotify numbers. Like,
I have not
okay,
actually.
for all of you listening on audio only platforms, thank you. Like, holy crap, I'm impressed. I didn't know so many of you were listening to us on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts or whatever, wherever you're listening to us. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
And I mean, YouTube's done all right too. So I do appreciate the people that wait for us to go live and watch us live. And if you don't, that's fine. We just welcome everybody. Like, we're here to have fun. We're here to have friendly discussions about things in life. We've talked about our relationships. We've talked about TV shows, movies, and we're gonna switch gears for a moment, and we're gonna be talking about our past year and what we've been through. I mean, what we have all been through the same thing, but in different ways as well, which is kind of funny to think about if you think about it.
Yeah, namely, COVID has just been so bad. I think it's come to a point where I'm like paranoid now, and anything I touch, like even getting the mail, like I have to think, oh my gosh, I gotta sanitize my hands. I gotta wash my hands. I gotta sanitize the groceries every time. And so, like, even though we got our vaccines and it's been a couple months and it's kicked in, like it's like almost PTSD. Maybe I'm using that word lightly, but it's like almost I'm kind of get like shaken up, like, oh gosh, I gotta sanitize.
Like, yeah, you gotta. I mean, I definitely have become more aware of my surroundings, more aware of the things that the things that I touch. I'm not as wary of those things as I was like a year ago. Like in June, July of last year. When I was a little more conscious of it right now. And I think one of the reasons why I like stopped caring more on that side, it was mostly because wasn't there like an article saying like, hey, the things that you touch, like it's not as bad as like air droplets or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't stop working. I continued to work, and not at home. I was working on location because I work. I'm not in the medical field, but I am. Like I'm not with the. How do I? Okay, I guess I can just say what I do for a living. I'm an optician. I work with an eye doctor, and we sell, repair glasses, stuff like that. So we have to deal a lot with. I mean, we're getting on people's faces, right? So when it all started, we shut down, and it took I think about a month and a half to get things going and everything. Like we were super careful. We were wearing like white robes. We were wearing gloves. We had a lot of PPE, personal protective equipment. If you're not familiar with the acronym, but we had it all. We had to have so we were wearing masks, and then we were wearing like a face shield on top of that, and for some time we could only sell contacts. We couldn't do anything related to glasses because we had to get close to people's faces. But with that being said, going back into my department in the optical department, we just sanitized everything. And so that is something that I actually kind of picked up. And so I do sanitize my hands often. I wash my hands more often than before. I'm definitely more conscious of it, but I feel like I've come back a little bit to the point where I'm like, am I doing this excessively? And this is like personal, okay? Like everybody's different. Everybody reacts different to these things. But I felt, I mean, because I've been out at work throughout this entire time, and I haven't gotten sick. Um, Side note, I haven't gotten sick from anything in a year, which has been like freaking great, by the way.
It's so
But
weird, like not being sick, right?
yeah, like I realized that in the middle of the winter, I usually get sick once or twice, and they're like usually mild colds. But I have not been sick at all, and so that just leads me to believe, like, I mean, it kind of makes me think of Japan, where masks are not unusual, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like every time I see documentaries of Japan, like they're wearing masks already. Like when they get sick, like if they're sick, you see people with a mask, and it's like, okay, well that person's being careful not to spread, whatever they have, given that they're not like extremely ill. But those are the types of colds that I usually would get, and even going into springtime, going into summertime, like sometimes I'll get like a mild cold here and there, but I've not been sick, and it's been great. I freaking love it. But yeah, so now that we're reopening, I feel like I'm still very conscious of people near me, um, but not as much with the things that I touch. I just try to keep it as clean as possible. Like I'll wash my hands, I wipe my hands, whatever. But um, I'm not to the, and I am using this word lightly, but I'm not to the paranoia level of things that I touch. Um, Unlike my mom, if she went shopping, if she ordered takeout or anything like that, she would sanitize the bag.
yep,
She's like, don't touch it. She's like, sanitize everything before
yep.
you like do it. And I mean, I get it. I'm not hating against it, but I don't think I ever did that on my own. It was always more for like other people. But in that same um under that same concept, I think I'm more careful if I know that I'm going to be with people or around people versus just on my own, which
And
is
that's good.
something that
I
I
think
see.
that's
I
what
think I should.
happened. Yeah, go ahead.
I sorry. I feel like I should still be more careful even if I'm on my own. But it's kind of like when we're with driving. Like when you're on your own, you kind of drive a little bit more recklessly than when you're with people. And so I think
Yeah.
I took the same to this sanitizer and cleaning oneself aspect of life. So
And I think it's because you're generally more. I think you are more of like a accommodating person. So you're aware of what people's needs are, aware of other people's situations, and I think some of the other people that don't have that, they kind of brush it off, and that's why they don't go through those motions. Not because they don't personally believe in it, and so if they don't believe in it, then of course they're not going to do it for other people. But there's that rare breed where people don't really believe in themselves, but they still want to accommodate for others, and so they go out of their way to help others. Like it was the really sad part about COVID was that you started noticing, like it was bad enough, like 2019, where it got a little political and it got pretty bad.
yeah,
And now you got 2020 that came, and then you're seeing sides of people that are like, oh my gosh, you didn't think people would think this way. And you're like kind of
yeah,
shocked because you're kind of seeing their true colors, or you're seeing the way they think. And it's hard to not be what's the word, judgy about it. Like, oh man, I didn't know this person thought that way.
yeah.
So that was kind of the hard part.
I definitely saw a lot of that. I think I was surprised in on both ends.
Yeah,
I try my best. I really do, and I know that I'm not perfect at this, but I try my best to be very centralized in all matters. So I'm not talking like politically or anything like that, but that's included there. I always try to look at both sides. I've always
yeah,
like in more recent years, I always tried to understand furthermore to where somebody else, like where someone else is coming from. And again, this goes both ways. Um, but I feel like 2020 really, like you said, it brought out sides of people that I was not expecting. I honestly,
yeah,
it yeah, it took me for a spin. Like I see people that I've known all my life that went one way or the other, and I was like, I just was not expecting it. Um, and it's tough with COVID because you're right. I do try to be accommodating to everybody else. I mean, it's not and nothing that I did last year affected my life in a way that I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Um, there's things that I was definitely like bummed about, you know, like things that closed down and stuff like that. But for the rest of it, like having to wear a mask. I mean, okay, so when it all started, when we went back to our department, to when I went back to my optical department, and we were wearing masks. This is like the first, like in the first couple of weeks. I know people were asking me, like customers, they're like, "Oh, like yeah, you guys have to wear masks." And I'm like, "Yeah, we do." I'm like, I mean, we don't know what's going on. We're still learning. And I remember somebody asked me like if we were gonna be doing this for a long time, and I was like, I don't think so. I'm like, maybe a couple of weeks while we figure it out, and then it should be okay. You know, like I don't think it's that big of a deal. And and I mean, it turned out to be over a year. Um, but yeah, I mean, the mask was I don't understand it. It was never a big issue for me, and I wear it because like honestly, whatever. I could breathe, I could talk. Sometimes
Yeah.
it was hard to hear, and yeah, sometimes it made it a little hard to like speak more clearly because you have the mask over, right? Um, but I never felt restrained or asphyxiated or anything like that. And you know what? When it comes to like, hey, like we're trying to understand this virus, and we know that by wearing a mask, you may be able to contain it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not guaranteed, it's just the fact that you're raising the chances of containing something that could
As
potentially
a
kill someone
precaution, even.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm happy to do that. We already do that with other things. Um, so why not this, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah. So it was really interesting going through people that you know didn't want to wear it. I thought it's a little extreme because they don't even try to understand. They would just come and like yell. You know, I got yelled at quite a bit
For wearing a
for
mask?
for not for wearing it myself, but for requiring other people to wear masks when they
Oh
come
man,
into
props
the
to you,
optical.
man.
Because I mean, like I said, we are technically considered a health department,
Yeah.
um, and so because we're trying to be cautious, you know, we want to be able to help people. We want people to see, right? I understand what it's like to see clearly, even though my prescription is not very strong. I get it, and I want to help people. That's why I do what I do, is because it's a job that allows me to assist people with their vision.
No, props to
And
you, cause like I remember seeing when the whole requiring of masks and seeing the signs as you go to stores. I'm like, man, the people that have to enforce this, like, I feel bad for them having to tell people. And I'm happy that there were some people that would oblige by that, and then those that won't. And then you see videos on Reddit or YouTube that are like, oh, this place, I'm not allowed. You're infringing on my rights to not wear a mask or whatever like that. And you're like, I feel bad for like the people that tell them, because they're just workers, you know. They're just telling what their
yeah,
boss has told them, or the government is telling them, or
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
these are not our rules. I mean, we get our rules, and they say, hey, you can go back to work, but you need to follow these instructions. And I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna do, and it makes sense
yeah.
to me. It actually made sense. But yeah, I got a few angry people.
What was the
But
worst one you
also,
got?
um, there's a lady that came up to me with her daughter, uh, like one morning, and like there's nobody else there, but she came in and she's like, hey, we'd like to get some glasses. We'd like to try them on, and she's like, can we try them on? I was like, yeah, you can try on the glasses. I'm like, but you do need to wear a mask. Like neither of them were wearing a mask. Um, the daughter was maybe uh, I don't know. You can't never tell, but she was a teenager for sure,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I don't think she was even a high school teenager, but maybe. So I don't know, between 13 and 17, 18. You know, she's a young girl. But none of them were wearing their masks, and so when I told them like, yeah, you can do that, but you need to wear a mask to try on the glasses. she went like full aggressive / defensive mode on me, and she's like, "Oh, but we can't wear masks." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, then you can't try on glasses." She's like, "But I'm exempt." And I was like, "Still, you can't wear masks." She's like, she even like told me the number. She's like, "Well, I got an exemption number C2040 dash something something that says that I don't have to wear a mask." And I was like, "I understand that, and that's okay if you don't have to wear a mask anywhere else, but in this apartment, you need to wear a mask. And if you're not able to wear a mask, then you need to come back when we don't have the restrictions." And she's like, "So you're telling me that I can be everywhere, like anywhere else around here, and I'll have to wear a mask, but if I want to try on the glasses, I have to wear a mask?" I'm like, "That's correct." And she's like, "This is what you call a self-aware wolf." She's like, "Is it because we're gonna be putting stuff on our faces and there's like a chance of transmitting the virus?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like,
Wow.
she's like, "So you're not gonna let me try on glasses without a mask?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Do you have this written down somewhere?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do. I don't have the paper on me, but I'm happy to call a manager over, um, so they can show you that you need to wear a mask here." And she's like, "Well, you just lost a customer." And I was like,
Oh my gosh, that line.
"Cool." I mean, and yeah. So I think that was the worst one. And then she
That's
just
hard,
more
man.
stuff. The
That's
daughter,
hard.
like I feel bad because the daughter, she seemed a little more understanding. Like
Mhm.
looking at her, it honestly, and I promise I am not making this up, but it really looked like she was looking at me and then she was looking at the mom, and like the wheels were turning, and I could, from my understanding, it looked like she was leaning more towards like, well, we can just wear a mask, like it's not that big of a deal. But she's listening to her mom screaming, and then they just marched up and she just followed, and I'm like, is this what we're teaching our kids? Like it's, even if you don't believe in this, like that this is correct or whatever, like you can still be a good example to your kids.
Courtesy, right? Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
so
the hard part because like I see it from both sides. I could see it from the mom side where she doesn't want to wear a mask or stuff like that, and I can imagine from their perspective they believe what they believe, and they want to take care of their children, or they don't want to impede their children, so they want to share that with their children. And so the children have their beliefs that are based on their parents, and they believe what they believe, and then you have someone that else believes based on for you because of what your job says, and then you have two ideas clashing against each other, and there's no right answer, or it's hard to figure it out because yeah, like you said, we didn't understand COVID at the time, and it was
yeah.
just the mask was a precautionary type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
this is
oh
really
man.
interesting. But yeah, I think that was definitely like the hardest one, the loudest one as well. Um, but I like, and the things like, to be honest, I've seen it both ways too. Like I see people yelling at people with masks, and I see people also attacking people without masks, and I'm just like, that is also not okay. I don't think it's
Yeah.
okay to see someone that's not wearing a mask and then just going over there to purposely be aggressive towards them. I think whatever you believe in, I think there's always a proper way to approach something. Uh, this is my perspective on it. Like the rules were like, or the rules were. I mean, I guess in a sense they're still applied,
Yeah.
but it's like you stand 6 feet apart because that's about how far the reach of air droplets is, or you wear a mask, and then at one point it's both of them, and that's fine. I don't have a problem talking to somebody who's 6 feet away. I do it all the time. Um, but if you're seeing this, if you have this knowledge and you know that by being further than 6 feet apart, you're safe, then why would you risk going to someone without a mask to tell them, "Hey, you need to wear a mask,"
In their
and
face.
then get in an argument?
Yeah.
And that is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
You're yelling at someone because you're preoccupied about health safety. Um, but by doing so, you yourself are putting yourself in danger when you
Compromising
didn't
other
have
people
to be.
too.
Yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
have to do that. You can say like, "Hey, hey, there's a mask policy, you should probably wear a mask, and then leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even by doing so, you're letting the person know, like, hey, like you should really consider all the things and not just yourself.
Because maybe
Um,
sometimes you're just reminding the person. There's times when I forget in the
yeah,
beginning I forgot to wear a mask, and then
I
if
did too.
someone told me it's like, oh, wear mask policy, I'm like, oh yeah, thanks for the reminder, you know. Instead
Yeah,
of someone yelling at you and then you get all amped up and then you attack back or whatever, and you know, like it's just, yeah.
yeah. Well, and
I
then
think
they're
the
gonna get all
problem is,
defensive.
yeah, because I think the assumption that people made that aren't wearing masks, they're like, oh my gosh, they immediately categorize them as the worst person, like they're
Mm.
the anti-maskers or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that people just forget, or you know, sometimes they are unaware or something, are uneducated, and it really makes it. I think social media made it really bad. I think it's
Yes.
made it to a point where it's left or right, or one side or another. Like you can't be in between anymore. And
Yeah.
because you're exposed to, we're conditioned to think if you're one side, then that person that you see is on the other side, you know?
Yeah. And it really isn't like that. I mean, I have people that have the other beliefs, like they see things differently than I do, but they're still respectful,
Yeah.
and they are, in fact, one of the like some of the nicest people I've ever met and like talked to, um, despite their beliefs and their perspectives being different than mine. We can still come to some sort of understanding and agreement and like middle ground and on things of this sort. And I think
Yeah.
that's what people are lacking these days. And you're right. I think the social media really affected people's like decision and even critical thinking. And it's funny because they claim people on both ends claim that they're the critical thinkers.
Yeah. And the thing
Yeah,
is,
it's just a big mess.
did you ever see that Netflix show,
Social
Social
media or
Dilemma?
the social dilemma.
Where it's
No,
like,
I meant to. I wanted to, and I remember I set some time aside to watch it, and I didn't.
there's an interesting part where it talks about, and I believe it because you know how Facebook tracks you and all that stuff,
Yeah,
that they cater media to show up on your feed based on what you've seen, and
yeah.
this algorithm or whatever is just feeding you the same thing just to
Mhm.
reaffirm your beliefs, right? So you're
Mhm.
not getting stuff from the other side, you're getting just stuff that you believe in, so you're constantly bombarded with the same information because of the algorithm or whatever, because that's what Facebook or other social media wants to do. They just want you to click as much as you can without regard of the effects of what will happen, you know, on a social level. And so you have people that are reading information and just rereading the same information that just reaffirms their belief, reaffirms uh, their stance on things, and then you have people like that at your work where they believe what they believe because of what they were conditioned to believe. And it's kind of sad because that's where that no gray area happens, because it's just always constantly just separating, you know. It's becoming
Yeah,
more, you know, black and white or whatever. So it's kind of
yeah.
confusing.
It's really sad, and I noticed that too. I remember uh later in 2020, towards the end of the year. Um, I mean, you're right. The algorithm feeds you what you look at, right?
Yeah.
But because I actually like being informed, or at least I pretend that I try to or want to. I mean, I do. I really do. But um, I actually took some time to really understand the other side of my perspective. Um, because funny enough, I saw a video by Vsauce, Michael, from Vsauce
Vsauce here.
YouTube. Yeah, yeah. He's super smart guy. Like I love his videos, and he released a video talking about this kind of stuff and how uh, your logic is not another person's logic. So, like the logic, there's not like one central logic, but it's what's logical to you, kind of thing.
I
Does that
think
make
I saw
sense?
that video. No, I think I saw that.
It's one of the new ones. Um, but anyway, with that mentality, I was like, I wanna know why the other people, like, let's say, don't believe in the virus, why they think it's a hoax, fake, stuff like that. And I look at the media, at their sources, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to make sense of it. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. Um, but I really I tried to make some sense of it, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something that I'm missing. I just really want to know why they think that way, and I want to know if I'm wrong in any sense or matter. You know, I just want a bigger, better perspective. So I spent some time kind of like looking at other stuff that I normally don't look at, and my YouTube algorithm picked that up. And so at one point, my homepage
Oh
would
man.
have contradicting videos right next to each other too. And so I was like,
That's an interesting experiment.
it's funny, yeah. It's like yeah, it's like having, you know, um, what's a good example? What are two teams that hate each other, like sports teams?
Oh, you're asking the non-sports
Okay,
guy.
okay, yeah, okay. Let's put the big one here in this state. So BYU versus Utah.
Ah, yes, yes.
So it's funny because like that means that um, you can't have both flags. You know, you can't hang out to both flags.
Oh, that's controversial right there.
But I feel like you can. I feel like you can like
Yeah.
parts of both schools. I mean, I'm a Ute fan, um, but I'm not a BYU hater. But when it comes to like the football game here, like the big match, I go for Utah. But I think that BYU has some good things, and even though I like to give BYU students or BYU fans a hard time about it, I don't really hate them. It's a friendly um, um, banter, right?
Right.
Um, but I feel like when it comes to this kind of stuff, there is no friendly banter. It's just hate.
And I think
It's
it's,
sad.
and
It's
I
really
get
sad.
it,
I'm sorry. I'm getting
because
a
you got
little
one side
heavier.
that are worried about health and the other side that are worried about freedoms or whatever it may be, and both believe in what they need to believe because of what they were conditioned, what they grew up with. And so you have two people that are strong on their beliefs, and it's really hard to find that middle ground because of the information that we receive based on the algorithm, whatever. Like for us, we had to play it safe regardless of what the information we were given, because you have one side saying, oh, it's going to attack the lungs and it's going to kill you, and the other side is it's just going to give you flu and you'll get sick. Like, if you're going to take the safe route, which one would you want to
Yeah,
believe? Would you want to say, okay, you
exactly.
know what, we'll just believe it's a flu, and then next thing you know, one of us dies?
Right.
uh, and the problem is that my wife has a condition that if she did get the coronavirus, she would probably died. And so, because of whatever information, not that we believed in one or the other, we wanted to take the safe route and prevent death. So
Yep.
that was like
Yep.
our mentality, and that's what was sucked, because we believed one thing and then you see information from the other side and you're like, oh, okay, but then you're like, should we risk death even though one might be right, one wrong? So the best option is just to take the most safest route.
Yeah. I completely agree with it. I never understood the people that would say we should all just get it, just better get it over with. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, honestly, if you told me that I would get sick with like a severe flu for 2 days, 3 days, even if it was like one day, if they're like, hey, yeah, you're gonna get sick with the flu for one day, I wouldn't want that. I just it does not sound like a good time. And even if I knew that I was gonna be like I was gonna survive,
Yeah.
I would not want that. I mean, you changed it up to like a broken bone, you know? Hey, like you can all like you can wear like okay, let me make it even easier. Um, you have to wear like steel-toed foots, steel-toed boots, to prevent your feet from breaking. Or we can all break our foot, be disabled for a little bit, and then we never have to wear steel-toed boots. Wouldn't you want to wear the boot, sorry, the boot instead of
Yeah,
breaking
right?
your feet? Like, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I would not want to get sick.
And
You
even
know, even if I knew, like, I don't want to get sick from anything. Even if I know that it's not gonna kill me, I still would rather be safe.
like even
So
the example further, yeah, maybe you'll have a safe work day when you will never get anything smashed on your foot. And then you have my brother-in-law's coworker who works as a mechanic, wore Crocs to work, smashed his toe, and now he's gonna regret not wearing steel toe boots that day. So
yeah,
it's there is the opportunity that you won't get sick. There is the opportunity you won't get your foot smashed. But for those that need that protection, we need to take it just out of safety, even though we might never get our toes crushed.
So you so you got to work from home, right?
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Oh man, it was so great. It sucked
Yeah.
because at first, what happened first was that I was working at a company, and then the whole coronavirus was happening, and I wasn't taking it seriously. And so I was thinking, and this was I timed it perfectly because I was thinking, I've been at this company for 3-4 years now, and it's time to move on. And so I'm looking for jobs as coronavirus is happening.
Oh wow.
And so I find a new job, leave the company, get to the new company, work there for a week, and then get let go.
I didn't know that.
I know this
That
all
sucks.
happened last year too. So I'm out of a job for a couple of bits, and then trying to look locally. Came to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna look elsewhere. Expanded my horizons. Was able to find a job completely remote, which is great, and now I'm working at home. So, and it's been really great because I don't have to go out. I don't have to risk my health. Like for me, I don't think I would be in fatal danger of the coronavirus, but because I could be potentially a carrier and then give it to my wife, and then, so it's like, I was so glad that it was remote. That way I didn't have to expose myself being on the outside as much.
Yeah.
And then, just being at home, being safe, going out only when we need to, get groceries. And then Walmart did the whole pick up groceries, which was great. So it was really good. We handled it pretty well.
That's awesome. Like I'm actually glad to hear that because I know that some people didn't take it very well. Like I know
Yeah.
that it's been hard for people on both ends, people that had to stay at home and people that had to keep going to work, like myself. I mean, I'm blessed to have a good job that is able to adapt. Um, but I'm not gonna lie, man, it got heavy for a moment, for a moment, and I was like, I had a hard time last year. Kind of like towards the summer when everything was happening and everything started getting
Mm-hmm.
really real. Uh, I had a moment of um, weakness slash strength. I think depending on how you want to look at it. But I definitely had a breakdown, um, and then just had to like really like set my mind straight to know that everything's gonna be okay. But that's what it can do to you, man. Like, and again, in both ends. I mean, I'm someone that kept going to work outside, having to wear a mask and stuff like that, and it was hard. And then there's people that couldn't do that, and they were secluded to their homes, and it's
Yep.
hard for them as well. And that can be, uh, yeah, it can just be like it can be really bad.
Like even for
Um,
the frontline workers that worked in hospitals and clinics,
mhm.
man, that's the
Yeah,
one that's hard. Like I'm working directly with COVID patients.
yeah. I
Jeez.
have a few friends that are nurses, and so I would kind of like try and get like a little bit of information here and there from them as well, um, without having to be too heavy about my questions. I just
Mm.
wanted to stay informed. because
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a biased source of information. I'm going strictly like straight to the source. So yeah, I would ask them like, hey, like, how's it going? How are you doing? You know, like, thank you for everything you do. Like, it's hard to be there. I understand that. So
Yeah, no, like even though we handle it pretty well from like necessity standpoint, like the social aspect was the worst. Like
that was
we
hard
were
for me.
home. That was the hard one. I think that's was that like your breakdown period when it
No,
came to the social aspect.
the social thing didn't really hit me until like later on because um I mean like I said I'm still going to work, so I still had people to socialize with,
Yeah.
even though it was minimal. But I also kept a very very close group of friends that I knew that we were all safe. Um, and if some of them were like exposed, they would exclude themselves from whatever activity if there was an activity. And so that's something that I really appreciate, because that comes back to like, it's not for me, it's for you. Like I'm doing a sacrifice for you, um, which is fine. And so, um, but there was still a lot of restrictions. I mean, a lot of places were closed. A lot of people were really not seeing anybody, and so um, I mean, I'm someone that used to go to the movies a lot. I used to go out to restaurants a lot. Uh, I would always want to go out and do something with people, hang out, play sports, whatever. And all of that stopped. And so it was, I mean, yeah, it sucked. It was hard, but I'm still glad that I still had my family, even though we only talked on the phone for like 2 or 3 months, which was also kind of difficult. My mom is like more uh, susceptible to, you know, not recovering from the virus, and so she
Mm,
was like a big motivator for me to not want to expose myself too much,
yeah.
and take the safe route. Um, but yeah, I feel like I just got really lucky with the people that I was able to be with, including like my fiance and uh, and that small group of friends that I knew that I could trust in. And even then, there's other friends that they don't want to go out, they don't want to hang out, and that's totally fine. I do not blame them, because I respect it. It's your choice, and it's fine. I don't take it personal.
Yeah, and it
Um,
felt it was hard for us sometimes because we always had to, like, for a whole year we were just like in our home. That was it. Like we couldn't go out, we couldn't even hang out with family, and that was the hard part because so many people invited us to things, and like it took a toll on me where I kept saying no to people because of the situation, and they
yeah,
were okay with it at first, but then it just kept being no, no, no because of our situation, and I felt like I started feeling like I was losing friends because of it, that I was becoming like I was losing connection with family, and so it started playing like a mental, like I had my own breakdown too, where I was like, I'm just like a I was thinking at a point, I was like, man, I'm just a bad son because I was not spending time with family. I'm not letting you know my wife spend time with the family too. Like we're only what 2 years married now, and so it kind of happened with COVID, and like they didn't really get to know her as much because of all that time that we couldn't spend together, and so it took a toll on us. Like it strained our marriage, I would say, um, and we had to kind of. I think on our previous podcast where we talk about like our weekly check-ins, and one of our questions was what puts a strain on our relationship, or what can we improve. Like we always talk about what's the strength and the weakness of our marriage, and COVID was always a thing because the strain was that we couldn't do things. Essentially we were
yeah,
always just stuck at home watching TV, playing occasional video games, and then I guess maybe from a mental standpoint where you're cabin fever, you're just inside all the time and you just kind of lose your mind almost.
yeah, uh, yeah. I think the whole pandemic thing really made and broke relationships in all aspects.
Yeah. Oh man. Did you hear
Families,
about like
friends.
in Asia, or there was, I
No.
think, I don't know if it was Japan or China. There was like an uptick of like divorce because of COVID.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh. Dang, yeah. I mean, we joked about it here. You know, like, oh man, you're gonna be stuck at home with your significant other. Like, divorce rate's gonna go up, and it was. I mean, sure. Like, there's gonna be people that do go through that. I didn't think it was gonna be like a big thing. But that's interesting that it happened in Asia.
And I think it was maybe, I think when it happened here, the reason being was, I think there's even wordage for it where it says differences in handling COVID. I think that was the wording they used. Like the way, because I think when you're at home and you're presented situations where you either go out or not, and you're presented with, oh, do you wear masks or not? Like I could imagine in a marriage situation, that's always going to be revisited. The topic is always going to be rehashed, revisited. And then, you have like just the example of your customer where you have one person believing one thing and another person believing in their thing, but you put that in between a couple. Oh man.
Yeah, it's rough.
I could see the problems there.
That's really rough. Nah, I mean, not to get very mushy here, but I am so grateful that Amber and I have like the same perspectives.
That's
They're
good.
like very similar ways of handling things, and like our perspective is like it's very parallel, and so I really got lucky with her, and I mean, there's points where we like even like now that the mask mandate is off and everything, like we would still wear masks for a bit, and then we went to Walmart, and I think we were missing a mask, and we just talked about it, and we're like, well, do we do it? Like, do we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? And but just even that, just the fact that we like talk about it and not just assume or do things, like I feel like that made our bond stronger. Like I feel like I fell on the virus made our relationship stronger. And like we have to get creative. We have to get super creative with our dates, because and like granted, like we did watch a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, to the point where we were like, hey, we should do a date, but we should not watch a movie and have dinner. We should do something more. And so we try to come up with creative ways of going out on a date without being reckless or anything like that. So
yeah,
that's
a tip for newlyweds or soon to be newlyweds. See how they handle COVID.
yeah.
Oh man. But I mean, hopefully it sounds like it's coming to an end. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, they keep lifting all the restrictions little by little. There's a lot of hope for July, and I'm still, even after everything, I know that I'm going to continue to be more on the safer side. I think I'm still going to be more conscious of things. I know I'm going to have a hard time at concerts.
Oh.
Like, because I absolutely love concerts, but I also like being at the very front, in the general audience.
Mosh
being
pit.
I mean, where the mosh pit usually is, but yes. But you're crunched. You're surrounded by people, and you're all screaming and crying and talking and whatnot. And that's going to be really hard for me to be okay with it. I know that sounds a little paranoid, but if there's one thing that I definitely have become more weary of is people's spit and
I think that I mean, even pre-COVID, I'm just not comfortable. I don't like spit, man. I don't like spit.
There's like a fine line between what I find okay and not okay, because before any of this, I did not care about sharing a drink, with with an acquaintance, or even like sometimes even a stranger. Like if I saw them and I was like, this person looks like they're okay,
Yeah.
I would not care about sharing a drink with them or something to eat or anything like that. But I mean, if I'm just kind of like going about my day and somebody spits on me, like, yeah, obviously that's going to be disgusting. That's going to be gross. Whether it's on purpose or by accident, if it lands on my face, I'm going to be grossed out. And I think that's normal, right? I think you should be grossed
Yeah,
out
yeah, I think so.
if spit somehow lands on your face. Uh, but I feel like going forward, I know I'm gonna have a hard time getting back to that mentality of like, oh, let me try that drink. It's really good. Here you go, or vice versa. It's gonna be weird. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it again or not.
I was
Um,
never a fan of sharing stuff.
yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be
It's
interesting.
weird because, like, I mean, I kiss my wife, but then when it comes to sharing drinks, it's
You
weird.
don't.
I don't know. Yeah.
Do you
Sometimes I
share
get
food?
so apprehensive.
Do
Huh?
you share food or drinks with anybody else?
No, no
So
way.
that's a
No way.
general. That's a straight up like I don't
Yeah,
share
just
food.
general. Yeah, general food, drink, straws, especially. No way, dude. Bottles? Oh man, that's why the whole waterfall thing. I do waterfall,
Waterfall?
man. Yeah, you just waterfall it into your mouth. A bottle.
Oh,
You drink water.
oh. Wait, you
Yeah.
still wouldn't do that, or you
I
like you?
I'm trying to get over that with my
Okay,
wife
all right.
specific with Brit, because yes, we do kiss, but then why is it any different drinking from a bottle or straw?
Yeah, you're way past that, dude. You probably have already the same saliva, so it's all good.
I know, right? So so I mean,
Uh, okay. Well, what if it was like a big water cup, and then you're drinking from one side, and they want to drink from the other side? Is that okay, or is it
oh
more
yeah,
of like
that's fine. That's
even
fine.
though their tongue and lips are touching the water, and that goes back into the water?
In the beginning, backwash. Like I was paranoid about backwash. I think I'm doing a little better with that one. I think with if it was Brit, fine. Other people probably not.
How do you feel about double dipping?
Mm, mm,
Like if
mm,
somebody takes a
mm.
chip, takes a bite, and double dips,
You know, I'm
would
still.
you?
It's weird. I think about it every time now because it's like, because I was thinking about this, right? Let's say it's kind of Parmesan cheese or something, or some kind of dust spice, right? You lick your finger
Okay,
and you place it in the spice, right?
yeah,
Technically, it's still clean because all the spice got on the finger, right?
right.
So that means none of the saliva is in the dust or whatever in the Parmesan cheese. I don't
Um,
know. Or am I
MythBusters.
incorrect in that thinking?
No. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure MythBusters did a test on this
No
with the
way.
double dip. Yeah, because of the double dip in Seinfeld, and they're like, we're gonna see
Oh,
if this really happens, and they
I
did it
didn't
with like a dip.
see that.
But I'm pretty sure it was Adam Savage. I think he did that same thing where he like licked his finger, put in the dip, but then he also did one where he put the whole dip in his mouth and then spat it back out, and then they reviewed that to compare to
You put the
see
okay.
to
That's a,
see how much saliva was actually still
yeah, man.
in the
That's
dip.
like
But like surprisingly, it wasn't high. Like I think I don't know. I'll have to watch it again, but I'm pretty
I
sure
need
they
to
said
watch that.
you can still eat the dip and not consume their saliva or something
Hmm.
like that. It was
Interesting.
I really need to. I want to watch it again now because.
Interesting. I would have to
But
watch that. Yeah.
yeah,
Here's
double
another
dipping.
cool
I'm
MythBuster
okay with
fit.
it. What is it?
MythBuster fact. I don't. Did you ever see the one where the toothbrush in the medicine cabinet versus in a cup when you are in the bathroom? You see that one? So the test was that is it
Sounds
better to put it
familiar.
in the medicine cabinet or in a cup on the countertop to get less fecal matter in your toothbrush?
Wasn't it the same?
Yep.
Yeah, I
The
think I saw
fact
that.
that there's fecal matter on your toothbrush, that's just that's gross, dude. I can't believe that. I have to like every time I pick up my toothbrush, I think of that MythBusters episode. It's like, all right, time to brush some poop in my teeth.
No wonder our teeth are so white. That's the secret ingredient. It's poop.
What
Poop.
is this
Mix it
charcoal
with
stuff?
toothbrush. I mean, with toothpaste, and then brush your teeth.
Oh
And
man,
that's how you get white teeth.
they should
Yeah,
start selling that
I remember
toothpaste.
hearing that. This is why I like the bathrooms that have the toilet in a separate room. Like it's its own little secluded room.
Did they do a test on that too?
I
I
don't
think it
know.
was the same.
Oh, really? Dang it.
I mean, the fact that
I'm
the
gonna
door
go change my
open.
toothbrush right now, man.
That's why they do
Uh,
recommend 6 months, not because of the bristles, but because of the fecal matter. That's probably why. The truth.
because if you just keep using it, at some point you will have poop breath. That makes
Sick.
sense. No, I do change it. I change it often. I buy like a 4-pack or a 6-pack or whatever, and I don't think I even wait the 6 months. I think I wait like 3 or 4, and I just change it up just because I do remember hearing something about that, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I should probably change that. Um,
Dang.
that's interesting.
I know.
But yeah, man. So like, what do we do now? I mean, we're coming out of it. Do you think we're gonna head into another pandemic? Do you think if another virus
I
comes
don't
out,
know.
we're gonna do the same thing? Like,
I
isn't it
hope.
interesting that the last time we had this type of pandemic was 100 years ago?
Wasn't
then-
it the swine flu? But then it wasn't taken to the extreme of like
Right.
COVID, you know? You're
Yeah.
talking about like the Black Plague or something like that?
No, I'm talking about the Spanish flu,
Oh, that was a
The
different thing? I thought that was the same thing.
1918.
Mm.
Was
I don't
that
know
the
my
swine
history.
flu?
I don't know. I don't know my history. Swine flu was
dang it.
like 10 years ago or 12
Yeah,
years
swine
ago.
flu was like H1N1 or something like that, right?
Swine flu or the avian flu. You remember that one?
Yeah. There's like all these different viruses that come
Different
out.
animals.
But
But
I mean, it does make me wonder, like, what
yeah.
was so different about this one? But again, I mean, if we had worn masks 10 years ago, I would have been okay with it. I mean,
It probably would have been like a
You
membrane,
know.
a stomach from a cow or something. Actually, no, they had cloth back then, right?
yeah, I think so.
Oh man. I do worry because if it is getting, I mean, you hear like India, I think they had another outbreak, and it was a different. And you just hear the word different strain all the time.
Yeah, isn't there
So-
like some sort of Delta strain going out now?
So I don't even know that one. I don't even know. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
Europe had it or something like that, and so it's kind of scary in that sense. But
I haven't kept up with it as much anymore. I feel like I should, but I also feel like they're not showing it as much. They're not there. There isn't as many news about it anymore because
I
they're
think
more
people are just
concerned about.
exhausted.
Well, not just that. Well, yeah, okay. I think that's part of it. That's a big part of it. But I think the majority of people are just more preoccupied about like, okay, when do we get to just not wear masks like ever again, like at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah, I
And
don't even know when that one's coming.
when can I do that? When can I do this? And so it's more about like the outcome or coming out of it versus like what else is going on, you know, like yeah, it's interesting. News are very different.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
have another word for that.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of good that we're getting back, at least for our family, now that we had the vaccines. Like we don't like every time we pick up our groceries from Walmart, and I put them in the mud room. Like I have an itching to like get the Clorox and wipe everything down, cause like, and that would suck because the Clorox became a shortage, and the whole toilet paper thing became a shortage.
Yeah.
So like I had to get creative with the Clorox wipes, because you know when you finish the Clorox wipes, they have that like liquid at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
I would
put
like,
paper towels and
oh
stuff
yeah,
like
no, I would dip I'd double dip the towel in there.
that. I just use new paper towels.
No, that's because we don't want to waste paper towels.
Oh,
Essentially, I mean, Clorox wipes, all you really need is that liquid on there, right? So
yeah.
I'd use it like a sponge. Dip the
I
water,
mean,
dip it in the water.
yeah,
It
you kind of have to use
would last
all the
longer.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
I'm so
I mean, I
glad
do
the
that
toilet
too.
paper thing's over, though. Oh man, do you remember
That one made no sense
Yeah.
at all. And it almost happened twice. I don't know if you knew that, but we almost went into a second toilet paper shortage in the fall. Yeah, I think it was
No
October.
way.
Yeah, it was October, and we got warnings of it, and people were like buying like 2 or 3 packs of toilet paper again.
Oh my
Yeah, that
gosh.
made
I
no
don't
sense.
remember
Oh,
that.
you know what? I'll tell you something.
Hmm.
On March of 2020, when things were happening, there's a night at Costco. I got crazy busy, like people everywhere, and so I'm there, and I'm like, I just need to get a couple of things. I'm not even going for toilet paper or anything like that, which is what everybody was going for. I was lucky enough to buy paper towels, toilet paper, and I had plenty Clorox wipes at home anyway, but I didn't need it, right? So all I wanted was a little bit of food. I wanted some pasta, I wanted chicken and rice. And it was hectic, man. Like getting through an aisle was it's a lot of hard work to get through everybody's carts and stuff like that. But I finally get to this part where we have like the canned chicken, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna get two. Like I feel like that's normally it's a normal amount for me to get it two packs of chicken, canned chicken. And so I get a little box, a little tiny teeny little thing just to use as a tray, and I put that like on the side there, and I start grabbing like the canned chickens, and then this lady comes over next to me, and then she like grabs the stuff off my cart. So to kind of
No
give you a
way.
little, so okay, so I'll try to explain this for people that can't see us, but I have my cart next to me. I'm facing a pallet filled with chicken stuff. So I'm putting
Uh-huh.
stuff into a little box to use the tray to put into my cart. While I'm doing this, a lady comes over and starts getting stuff out of my cart.
Oh, did she
And
think it
then
was
so
like
and
a store trolley or something or cart?
yeah, I guess she thought that I don't know if she thought that I was putting stuff back or if she just was completely out of it. But I looked at her and she looked at me and she said thanks. And I was like, no, I'm like, I'm sorry, that's my chicken. And she's like, yeah, thanks. And I'm like, no, it's mine. And then she just kind of
Wait,
like
she
looked
didn't
at
get
me
it the first time?
and then she like it like clicked, it finally clicked, and she's like, oh, I am so sorry. And then she just like put it back and she's like, I'm really sorry. And she's like, you know, walked
I don't
off.
understand.
But
How did she not understand mine? She was thinking you're
it,
like a representative of Costco.
right, I like no, like I'm literally buying this right now, lady. Like, what are you doing?
Oh
I
man.
felt kind of bad, but I was also kind of like, what just happened? Like, what is happening to people? Like that day, um, I mean, the shell at the end of the day, the shells were empty. Um, I think it was that same day some person got run over in the parking lot because somebody was rushing to get into like a parking stall or something like that, and there's a person, and yeah, and they got hit, and so we had
Oh my
there's
goodness.
ambulances and everything, and I was like, stuff like this
All
makes
for
people crazy,
toilet
man.
paper.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
I wonder
um,
the people. It was so I see like these instant karma stories on Reddit. People buying like garage full of like paper towels and toilet paper, and then them trying to sell it back, and they wouldn't let them. It's like
did you,
yes,
did you
good.
did you see the guy that tried to sell a sanitizer?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He
It was like
bought
20
he
bucks or
feel
something.
huh?
Wasn't
Yeah,
he
no,
selling? Yeah.
he bought uh he bought off like the full stock off of like wherever. But I remember seeing the video and he had a garage full
I think I saw that one.
of
Yeah.
sanitizer and he couldn't sell it. And I thought that was kind of funny. I actually really laughed at him. I'm like, that's what you get. Like that is karma for you. I know that Costco had I mean, I don't know if other stores did it, but I know Costco for sure. They implemented a rule that anybody that bought toilet paper and paper towels and something else, I think Clorox wipes, between like March and I think June,
Yeah.
they were not able to return
Good.
the items at all.
Good.
So when people wanted to bring back stuff, they look at the history, and if it was purchased anytime in that time frame, they could not return it. And I found satisfaction in that too, because yeah,
No,
because it's
I would
unfair.
too.
I mean, you're gonna
That
go and you're
is.
gonna buy 10 packs of toilet paper, and then you try to like return them once you realize that it's not true. I'm like, you're still gonna use the toilet paper. You're so full of crap that you might as well just use all the toilet.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
good.
Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, no, I just thought it was kind of cool. I was like, good, like good for Costco as a company to say, hey, we're not gonna be taken advantage of. Like, we're trying to help people. We're trying
They're
to
not gonna
have,
enable these people,
yeah, like we're trying to have
scalpers.
plenty for everybody. But when you do that and you're selfish like that, we're gonna say no. Like this is the limit. So I appreciated that. It's sad that it had to happen. It's sad that a lot of things happened during the last year, but hopefully it's a teaching moment, and
Hmm.
and hopefully we take from it, like take the good stuff from it instead of the bad. So
Yeah.
I am looking forward to getting back to normal. What's the word? Normalcy or normality?
Normalcy. Yeah.
I
Normalcy
think
is
it's
the right word.
normalcy.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I really am excited for concerts. I'm just hoping that I'll be okay mentally to be where I normally go. I'm excited for movie theaters. I'm excited for
Yes.
restaurants.
Yes.
Uh, I'm excited to hang out with more friends.
Theme
Um,
parks.
ooh, yes,
Bowling
theme park.
alleys.
I think Disneyland's opening, or Disneyland's already open to the public, right? In
I
California,
think so. Yeah. I heard
like
some news
out,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, like not just residents, but everybody. And I mean, I know I'm a freaking grown man, but I actually really like Disney because they have amazing rides, and it's just a good time.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna do that you couldn't do in the last year?
You asking the audience or me?
Both. Okay, audience. What's the first thing you did or are going to do that you couldn't do in the last year? And what about you, Gabe?
Yes. I will movies. I think that's it. Simple. Just movies.
Movie
Universal
theaters.
Studios. Probably go on a cruise.
Uh,
Bring back some more Corona.
uh, yeah, man. I think movies were the one for me.
Yeah, that's the big
Once
one.
movies came out, I was like, I'm there. I'm gonna go. I need to go. Movies are my thing.
Right.
And I think the next big thing will probably be concerts, and then eventually I'll go back to some theme parks. So
Good. Well, for those that are watching, thanks for joining us. Write in the comments section what you thought of that. Tell us what you're gonna do once COVID's over, if it's ever gonna be over. Tell us your theories of when it's gonna be over. Make sure you like and subscribe.
and
But
if you do comment, keep it civil. Keep
yes,
it
please do.
respectful. We do appreciate all inputs. Like we said, we do like to understand and hear, but yeah, keep it nice for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Gato. I'm Gabe.
No, you're not.
I did it
He's
again.
Gabe, and I'm Gato,
Oh
and
man.
we'll
Thanks
see
for
you next week. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Hope you have a nice week. We'll see you next time.